What is up, everybody? We are back. This time, I bring to you a video detailing everything that we found out in January 2023's Dead by Daylight developer update. We're going to go through everything that the developer update says. That way, you don't have to go out of your way to read it. You can just check this video. We're going to be talking about the Survivor Activity HUD update, a update to the wiggle mechanics, nerfs, with some perk changes that could be buffs / nerfs depending on what we're looking at. Some night buffs, which are totally necessary. Some changes to the Eyrie of Crows map that we got with the artist. Quality of life improvements. Updates to Merciless killer mechanics. And then it tops off with an update on cheating within the game. So without further ado, thank you guys for joining me. Welcome. Hang out with the flock and enjoy the information. This developer update came out on January 3rd of 2023. Happy New Year. The team is back from holidays and we've brought a new developer update with us. In this series of posts, we cover all the biggest upcoming changes coming to DBD. It's no secret that playing with friends may improve your odds of survival. Communication can at times make the difference between life and death. Solo survivors need to work extra hard to keep up, often sacrificing perk slots for crucial information that could be easily shared between players in a call. Last year, we shared an early design for a system that would help bridge the gap between solo survivors and pre-made groups. The response to this idea was positive, so we've been ironing out the details and working on it behind the scenes since. Each survivor will now display their current action next to their portrait. These actions include repairing a generator, opening an exit gate, healing, mending, and recovering, cleansing and blessing a totem, searching a chest, and killer-specific actions, examples including snapping out of it, waking up a survivor, etc. This not only gives you vital information to plan your next move, but also gives you some visibility on what your teammates are doing to build camaraderie between you and your fellow survivors. These actions are only visible among survivors. Killers won't be told what you're doing at all times. So this is huge. So if someone's on a hook, you always wonder, I wonder if my teammates are going for it. And without a perk like Kindred, you just can't know. But now there'll be icons saying, oh, the random ace is working on a generator and the Nia is cleansing a totem. So I know I need to go for save. It's a huge update. It's super necessary. Now, I will say, if they are acknowledging that this is really hard on solo queues, I'm surprised that they haven't thought about implementing a voice chat to the game. But I know that they've said before that that's not something they intend on doing. Maybe they'll change their mind down the road, but this is a huge step in the right direction. Beyond actions, we've added a new indicator to signify that a survivor is in a chase. Previously, it was only possible to tell when the obsession was being chased due to the twitching icon. Going forward, any survivor that is being chased will have a small set of entity claws surrounding their portrait. Meanwhile, the obsession will have a larger set of entity claws around their portrait, as always, keeping the effect visually similar. Unlike your current activity, the killer also sees who they are chasing, making it possible to distinguish two similarly dressed survivors. So that's huge, because then you also know, hey, they're working on a gen, they're being chased, I need to go for save. And as a killer, it's sometimes hard to look at the side and pay attention to who you're chasing and stuff like that and the character portraits, but at least it gives you an option if you're not intending to tunnel but two people are wearing the same outfit. So it's good for killers that don't like to tunnel. For killers who do tunnel, it doesn't really matter. I mean, I guess it helps them tunnel. Finally, we've added a new health state to show when a survivor is being carried by the killer. Previously, the carried survivor would be shown in the dying state, but this could be confusing for newer players who were looking for their auras of a dying teammate. So that's just a little quality of life thing, adding a image to show that a survivor is being carried. For survivors that have been in the game a long time, like myself, that doesn't necessarily matter, but I think that's a good change for newer players. Great update, great changes, super necessary for solo queues. It'll make solo queuing much more feasible. Right now, Dead by Daylight has been in a state where playing without a Swift has been stressful, and it'll still be stressful without a Swift, but this will alleviate some of that pain. To the updated wiggle mechanics. The updated wiggle system was the first feature to appear in the beta tab last year. Since its introduction, we've collected feedback from countless games around the internet. Roughly 83% of players are currently opted into the wiggle beta. So for those of you that don't know, previously the wiggle system was on mouse and keyboard. It was spamming A and D repeatedly to move left and right. On controller, it was wiggling your left joystick back and forth as fast as you could. The opt-in was to hit skill checks. It feels less impactful on the controller, less tedious, less stressful. I'm not surprised to see that 83% of players have opted into it. First, we are removing faster wiggling progression from the great skill checks. Hitting all great skill checks could shave off a whole second. While this sounds small, it can make the difference between wiggling free and getting hooked. Rather than increasing wiggling speed, great skill checks will instead have the amount the killer sways while carrying you increase by 20%. Great skill check success zones have also been increased in size since they are less impactful. Good skill checks, on the other hand, still bump the killer, but 50% less than was previously normal. Okay, so they're removing the speed of hitting great skill checks in a trade-out for increasing the effects on the killer and making them a little bit easier to hit. I like the idea of hitting those great skill checks rewarded me with potentially getting out faster, but I can understand the mild imbalance. Second, we have added a new sound for non-attempts. Examples include not attempting to hit a skill check at all. Previously, this would play the missed skill check sound, which can be a little intense when played over and over if you decide to not wiggle. This new sound will be much more subtle. Thank God. Great change. Well done, behavior. Great change. Third, we have cleaned up the new system's interaction with Decisive Strike. Previously, wiggle skill checks would start immediately after the Decisive Strike skill check. This caught a lot of people off guard and caused some confusion. There is now a short, half a second delay after the Decisive Strike skill check before wiggle skill checks appear. You will be credited a small amount of wiggle progress to make up for the added delay before these skill checks appear. Okay, I'm fine with that. That's a good change too. So that's it for the wiggle mechanic. So basically, they're taking the wiggle mechanic that has been in the beta tab for over a year, and they are making it mainstream. They're switching to that mentality going forward, and I'm totally on board for that. The Nerfs. In the right hands, the Nerfs can be no doubt the strongest killer in the game. Though she has a steep learning curve, not much can stand between a good nurse and the survivor she's trying to kill, not even walls. Although it's been a while since we've made any major changes to her, the nurse has steadily grown in power thanks to the introduction of new perks, making already strong playstyles even stronger. This in large part comes down to the fact that her attacks are considered basic attacks, meaning they can benefit from a wide variety of perks. Since the nurse can be threatening enough on her own, we've decided that it's time to make her blink attacks special attacks.
Yeah, baby! That's what I've been waiting for!
This means they will no longer activate basic attack perks such as Starstruck, Noed, and so on. So going forward, once this update comes out, if she wants to hit you with a perk like Starstruck or Noed, she's going to have to catch you on her own. She's not going to be able to blink attack you. That's huge. Now, she could blink to catch up to you, but then again, once she does that, then she has the fatigue. Next, we've added a new sound cue when the nurse has fully regenerated all of her blink charges. This way, you'll know when you're ready to blink again without having to keep an eye on the corner of your screen. That is a fair change for nurse players. Whenever I've played as a nurse, it's always been annoying to try and figure out when I can blink and when I can't. Beyond that, we took some time to revisit the nurse's add-ons to add new effects and bring the strongest and weakest of the bunch closer in line with the rest. Notably, any add-on that increased the nurse's maximum blink range has been replaced with a completely new effect. Here's a sneak peek at what's to come. Bad Man's Last Breath. After hitting a survivor with a blink attack, the nurse becomes undetectable for 25 seconds, and this effect can only be triggered once every 45 seconds. That's pretty good, honestly. I don't think it's broken. I would expect that to be like a purple add-on. I don't think that's an ultra, but I could be wrong. And Jenner's Last Breath. Once all blinks have been exhausted, the nurse may teleport back to her original position. Once she returns to her original position, all blink charges are restored. Interesting. I wonder if that will mean she could do that and avoid fatigue. That would be very interesting to see. So here's a list of the other add-ons that are going to get changes. Catatonic Boy's Treasure, Dark Cincher, Heavy Panting, Ataxic Respiration, Fragile Wheeze, Campbell's Last Breath, Kavanaugh's Last Breath, Torn Bookmark, and Matchbox. Spasmodic Breath will also receive a new audio and visual feedback to make it clear when its effects are active. So they're making her blink attack count as a special attack, which means things like Noed and Starstruck won't work with them, and that is huge because her catching you on her own is a lot harder, so she'll really have to earn it when it comes to those one-hit knockdowns out of nowhere. That's huge. Now she'll still get one-hit knockdowns from things like Devour, which the nurse can get stacks on really well because of her mobility. So that's a good change. Let's move on to the Knight, who on the flip side should be getting some buffs. The Knight and his guards have been patrolling the realm for a little over a month now, and we've been combing through your feedback all the while. One recurring piece of feedback we received about is how the Knight's power is best used in loops rather than over long distances. While this is a totally valid way to use his power, we'd also like to make it more appealing to use your power in different ways. Made a few changes, aiming to make longer paths more powerful. First, the orb survivors see when the killer is creating a path will shrink in with distance, disappearing completely when the path is longer than 10 meters. This will make it more difficult for survivors to avoid a guard before they become active, though the killer will still need to predict where the survivor will go. That's still huge. Because before, it felt like it was super easy to just see where the Knight's things were going and be like, I just don't have to go there. Second, after creating a path longer than 10 meters, the Knight will gain the haste status effect for a few seconds. The longer the path, the longer the movement speed bonus will last. The aim is to help the killer catch up after using their power. Third, guards will move to the position they spotted a survivor and begin chasing faster depending on the length of the patrol path. Like the haste, only paths longer than 10 meters will benefit from this. That's good. Beyond promoting longer paths, we've increased the instant generator regression from guards to 5% compared to the default 2.5. Guards will not activate generator damaging perks, however, so use them wisely. Lastly, we have to admire the creative ways some of you have used the Knight's power. Rather than locking down an area or aggressively chasing survivors, some of you have discovered that you can start drawing a path and not move to hide your terror radius, particularly near a hook survivor. The efficiency of doing this is debatable. It doesn't exactly suit his playstyle, so we've added a 10-second limit to his patrol path creation. This gives enough time to not affect a typical path, but will put a hard limit on how long you can stay still and hide your terror radius. So hopefully these changes make him more feasible, and it sounds like from that last change, less abusable. But that's it for the Knight. Let's move on. The Eyrie of Crows. Last year, the Forsaken Boneyard appeared in the Entity's realm alongside the Portrait of a Murder chapter. You've given us a lot of feedback on this surreal landscape, and we've prepared some gameplay adjustments for the Eyrie of Crows, which will launch in this upcoming patch. Many players reported that this map felt survivor-sided, and this is something we can back up looking at our data. To remedy this, the map will be changing shapes. Rather than a long rectangle, the map will be roughly square, allowing killers to patrol generators more easily. This change in shape also reduces the overall size of the map slightly. Additionally, maze tiles, stronger tiles made up of tall walls, have been moved away from the main building and shack, making it harder to combine them into stronger loops. Last but certainly not least, several new tiles have been added to the map. Multiple existing tiles have had new foliage added into strategic places to allow trapping killers to better hide their traps. Keep an eye out as you explore. I think these are good changes. For the most part, that map was survivor-sided. A good killer could overcome it. An average killer against bad survivors could overcome it. But good survivors on an average killer, it was definitely survivor-sided. So I think that's a fair change. Now this one's very interesting. The in-game challenge tracker. We've all been there. You're not quite sure if you finished your challenge or not. Never again. We're adding a challenge tracker during the match. This widget will appear at set intervals as you make progress on an active challenge. You can choose to toggle between two settings that will indicate progression on a challenge as well as its completion. No more guessing. If you prefer your screen to be clear, this widget can be switched off in the options menu. But basically, it looks like for survivors, just above where the character portraits are on the left, anytime you complete something or progress something in the challenge that you're working on for a tome challenge, a little pop-up happens. It says, hey, you're at 2 out of 3 totems, or hey, you're at 4 out of 5 chases escaped, or whatever it may be. That's a great change. I'm very forgetful. Half the time I even forget what my challenge is, but it is still a huge step in the right direction, and I love it. Let's move on. Gameflow Improvements. Speaking of challenges, if you've ever queued up for a match before realizing that you didn't have a challenge selected, you'll know that you're faced with two options. Keep queuing and play the next match without a challenge, or back out and select one. This is a thing of the past. You can now browse the archives and the store while searching for a match. The searching for match indicator will stay at the bottom right corner of the screen as you browse. You'll also be able to spend blood points in the blood web as you wait. New for our killers players, you'll also be able to customize your non-selected killers while you wait for a match to start. As always, returning to the main menu will automatically cancel your search or exit your group, as it always has. Whether you forgot something or you just love clicking around while you wait, we hope you enjoy having more freedom while searching. That's awesome. Plenty of times we've had to cancel queues when we're grouped up with a Swift. We've had to cancel queues because somebody didn't have a challenge. So that's a great change. Merciless killer changes. Finally, we have a small update to the Merciless killer ratings. These ratings are currently tied to the grades system, where a double pip earns you a Merciless killer result and the corresponding adept killer achievement / trophy. Unfortunately, this means that as your grade increases, it becomes harder to earn these achievements. Since the emblem system has transitioned to a monthly ladder, it no longer makes much sense for the match result to be based on them. To clean things up, the results you get after a match will now be tied directly to kills. Oh my god, I've been suggesting this for 2 years. This is awesome. If you get 0 kills, the entity hungers. 1 or 2 kills is a brutal killer, 3 kills is a ruthless killer, and 4 kills is a merciless killer. That is a change I have been suggesting almost to a T for several years now. That is awesome. With this change, the requirement for a Merciless killer rating is much clearer and remains the same regardless of your grade. This will also make killer adept achievements a similar level of difficulty to their survivor counterparts. This is a great change. It is a much deserved change. It is about time. My only question is whether or not disconnects will still count as kills. Because right now, when you have challenges that say like kill a survivor or whatever, if someone disconnects before you kill them, you don't get credit for the kill. And petty survivors, and let's be honest, there's a lot of them. As a survivor main, I have seen plenty of petty survivors that disconnect when they get butthurt. Could cost killers Merciless killers. They could go out of their way to avoid letting people get their Merciless killer recognition. So that'll have to be addressed, in my opinion, if it's not already part of it. Disconnects need to start counting as kills. Up next, we have the Iridescent shard prices. A few months back, we announced that all non-licensed outfits would receive an option to purchase with iridescent shards roughly a month after they first appear in the store. By extension, existing outfits will also receive iridescent shard options, but this is being done in batches of a few characters at a time. So far, we've added this option to outfits for the Trapper, the Wraith, the Hillbilly, the Nurse, the Huntress, the Doctor, the Hag, Dwight, Claudette, Meg, Jake, Nia, and David King. We can reveal that the next characters to get this treatment will be the Clown, the Spirit, Ace Visconti, and Feng Min. You can expect the Iridescent shard prices to appear around the time the update releases on all platforms, not the PTB. And then finally, an update on cheating. Now that 2022 is behind us, we want to leave you with a chart showing the number of cheaters banned each year since Dead by Daylight was released. Here's my thing. I don't know what this update chart on cheating shows me more. Either that before we were less willing to ban people for cheating or less capable, or more people are cheating as the game has gone because it is easier to accomplish. I hope it is the former, and that it was just less capable of banning them, and as the time has gone, we've become more capable of catching cheaters, and that this will continue to trend in the right direction until there are no more cheaters. As it stands, I mean, that's insane to think that in the last 2 years alone, well over 100,000 people have been banned for cheating. It's just sad. With that, we've reached the end of the first developer update of the year. Everything we shared in this post will be available in the PTB starting tomorrow, which would be January 4th. So by the time you're seeing this, that has already begun. These are good changes for the most part. Everything here, like I said, my main thing I would like to address is whether or not somebody disconnecting still counts as a kill for the killer, because I have been in many a game where I am playing as killer and I needed to get kills for a challenge or something like that, and somebody disconnected right before I hooked them or right before I started a Mori or whatever, and I didn't get credit for it. That isn't fair to the killer, and I see it all too often. People disconnect because they got knocked down first. But with all that being said, thank you guys so much for taking the time to listen to this. You can check us out over on Twitch, where we play games like Dead by Daylight on a regular basis, almost every night from 9 p.m. Eastern to 3 a.m. Please feel free to come hang out. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to elaborate. If you have any opinions, please let me know what you guys think in the comments or over on my Twitch streams. But no matter what, thank you guys so much for watching. And as always, I'm Pip. Y'all are the greatest. And when in doubt, we'll see you next time. Later, guys.